Kathy, can you hear me?
It's 2:01, so if we can get everybody to take their seats. Our leader. Okay, so we're going to start the meeting, and Beth, if you would do the roll call, please.
Kathy Batchelor,
Here?
Candy English,
Here.
Beth Dingman, here. Nellie Johnson,
Here.
Bart Hillier,
Here.
Steve Reynolds,
Here.
Dave Barker,
Here.
Marge Garneau,
Here.
Bev Lawless,
I haven't heard from Bev, but she may be coming in late. You never.
uh,
Just go ahead.
Lanny Smith,
Here.
Jody Walker,
Here.
Scott Summers.
Here.
So we have a quorum. With that, we'll go to the second item. Are there any amendments to the agenda or a motion to adopt the agenda as it is? Bart?
Kathy, I would move to move action item D to the April regular meeting of the board.
Is there any reason particularly that you don't want it handled here?
I'd like to second the motion.
Okay.
Is that 7D?
It would be 7D, approval of the ad hoc GVR Foundation Committee Chair. That would be a new appointment that is in your meeting book. So we have a motion and a second to move that item, excuse me, to the April meeting. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Don't we have discussion? You don't.
I'm
you
sorry,
don't have
yeah.
to vote.
Marge seconded it.
I seconded it.
Now that I have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, we do need discussion, yes. Go ahead.
It seems to me that this really is a decision that ought to be made by the 26-27 board, not by the 25-26 board, since it's this new board that's going to have to, or will be dealing with whatever comes out of this appointment. I mean, the MOU itself between GVR and GVR Foundation passed with 6 yes votes, which is obviously the smallest margin to pass out of an 11-member board. And 3 of those 6 yes votes are leaving the board next week. So I think it would be more respectful to the incoming board just to let them decide who's going to chair this meeting and who else, if anybody, is going to be on or chair this ad hoc committee, and who else, if anybody, is going to be on the ad hoc committee. It's entirely possible that our new board members, whoever they are, might be interested in this as well. So anyway, it just strikes me more as a next board decision, not a this board decision. Thanks.
Okay, if I could just make a comment on that then, because this board approved that ad hoc committee extended through November of 2026. So I think this board has already basically taken their action for the majority of this next year. Others may feel differently about it, but considering, looking at the meeting book, I am the one that is recommending Nellie, who is already on the ad hoc committee, to take over my position because I'm leaving the board, so I could not be the chairman of that committee. And being as how Nellie's already on the board, it's a good spot to go, but I would like to stay on that board as a general member, which is a secondary recommendation. So we can go ahead with this, and I'll take any other comments. Beth?
My only comment is that we, as a board, this board, has gone through a lot of the issues surrounding our connection with the foundation. And also, we are fairly aware of and know the people. We know Nellie and we know Kathy very well. So I think it doesn't hurt for us to make this decision now, but particularly because we've gone through a lot of the issues that were of concern with regard to the foundation and our relationship to it already.
Anybody else? Steve?
I agree with Beth. To maintain the continuity of the committee, I don't think it's in the best interest to change members at this point. The biggest project is the campaign endowment, and we've made a lot of progress in planning that. So I'm in favor of retaining the current members.
Marge?
I'm in agreement with Bart because we're so close to a new board that, you know, if the new members want to be on or the new president wants to do it, then, you know, there could be problems. So I think we just make it through this month and then we'll have a new board and they can decide who should be on it or who should chair it at that time.
Thank you. Jody?
Okay, so you're going to nominate Nellie to be chair because you're coming off this board.
Right, and
okay.
chairs have to be a board
Right,
member.
and that's fine, okay, but you're going to stay on, would you stay on just through November because you've been on since November? Is that what you're explaining?
Yeah, what this board already adopted was that ad hoc was approved to go through November of '26. And then as a part of the ad hoc, within our ad hoc 2 groups, we have set up a steering committee to work with people from that group, hopefully to get some other people to volunteer to help with that steering committee. However, the 3 people who are representing this board are myself, Nellie, and Steve. And so because I'm going off the board, I asked Nellie if she would take on my appointment of, if the board approved, of being the chair for the remainder of the ad hoc committee, which will be until next November, because this board had already approved that to that date.
Right.
And Nellie agreed to do that, and then I had told Scott that I was interested in staying on the ad hoc committee because I'm also on the steering committee, so I would like to, as a general member, still be on the ad hoc committee as a member, not as a chair.
Okay, so, but you would be a member in representation of GVR?
Yes, yes.
God, what does these things have to cross? Okay, I'm just, boy, this is gonna stink.
Any other comments from the board? Beth?
I'm going to agree with Steve and you. I think for continuity purposes, it makes sense to have someone who's already on the committee, who's already familiar with the foundation and everything that has been discussed in the last year and even years prior, that they stay on as chair. After November, the new board will have plenty of time to pick their own chair and continue the ad hoc committee and make any decisions going forward if they so choose.
Okay. Any other board members? Lonnie?
Yeah, I agree with Beth. I think this board has dealt with all of the issues surrounding the ad hoc committee. We're familiar with it. I see it as the last piece of business for this board regarding the ad hoc committee, and we should take responsibility for that. And Bev, I absolutely agree with you. By the time we get to next November, the new members of the board will be up to speed and be able to make a better decision of who should be on the ad hoc committee. So I support the motion.
Okay, thank you.
One last question, please.
Go ahead, Jody.
What is left to do between now and November that on the ad hoc committee? I mean, what are the action items that are left?
We don't have any specific action items except that we are taking on a major
Fundraising campaign?
campaign for the endowment for the MAP program, which helps GVR members. That is the specific. And then we have a steering committee that is appointed from that ad hoc committee, and some people who are not on the ad hoc committee are just general members of both GVR and the foundation, to do all the legwork to get that major campaign going.
So all the basic decisions as to what GVR is going to do has already been decided. So you're not going to be representing GVR on behalf of making decisions on this board. You're just going to be representing and raising funds.
Yes, correct.
I just wanted to understand the capacity. Because if we were doing major decisions on this board and stuff, I would say.
Okay. Nellie, do you want to add anything?
I would just say that the ad hoc committee taking on the campaign, it's time limited. So therefore, moving and keeping the continuity and energy going would be important. So I support making the leadership change.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have, before we vote? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, which would be to move this agenda item until April, please raise your hand. So we have 2, would be Marge and Bart. And all those not in favor of holding it off until April, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 7, 8. So we have 8 yeses, and Candy's going to abstain because her husband is on the board of the foundation. Okay, so then with that having been done, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as is?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda. I got first for once.
I second.
Okay, Jody makes a motion and Lanny Smith seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. And those opposed? Okay, 2 opposed, and that would be Marge and Bart. Okay, so that carries. President's report. I don't have a great deal to have to say today, but as just indicated to everybody, today is my last business meeting of any significant action items to take care of. So I would like to thank each and every one of you that came out today to listen to what we have to say. I understand most of you are here with regards to the first action item, that is to approve the complimentary guest IDs, and would like to thank you for coming out on this especially unintended hot day in March, because usually we don't get this until back in June. Lanny?
Kathy, I'd like to thank you for your leadership over the last year.
Well, thank you.
Very much appreciated, and wish you all the best
Thank you.
going forward.
Thank you very much. I'm going to have a few words to say at the annual meeting next week, so I won't go into it, but I have so enjoyed being on this board and representing the members of this organization. So with that, we will move on to Scott's report, the CEO report.
Why, thank you. Not quite as exciting, but a couple items. I just wanted to give everyone updates. A couple of our projects, some of our capital projects, the Desert Hills Kiln Room Expansion Project. We will be kicking that off. Actually, I believe we've started, but we should wrap that up in April, so that'll be nice to have that project wrapped up. The West Center Lapidary Project expansion, this is a big project. It has started. Much of the facility across the way has been gutted, which is great. We're anticipating this project will be wrapped up in December of this year. West Center Membership Service expansion, this would expand a little bit into the lobby out here and expand and kind of become the will call office, or the will call office will become part of the membership services. We went out for bid on this project. These bids are due this Friday, the 20th. We anticipate reviewing those, then we'll make a recommendation to award a contract to the next board in April, most likely. We expect that project will start in May and probably wrap up by July. The Abrego South Pool and Locker Room, the design has been completed. The 30% concept design has been completed. We're going to put that out to our membership in the e-blast, I don't think this week, but probably next week. to see if we can get some comments back, some feedback on what people think of the design. We have cost estimates at this point, although we are tweaking them and fine-tuning them. And we are still waiting on a soils report from an independent engineer. We're expecting that the drilling for those core samples will occur this Friday as well. So once we have those three items, the concept drawing, the cost estimates, the core sample drilling and report, we will bring that information to the new board in April and ask that board to consider approving the concept drawing so that the architect can move forward to develop 100% drawings, obtain permits, and then go out for bid. In about August, we expect to come back to the board with a recommendation to award a contract to move forward or not move forward, and depending on that decision, which contractor that project will be awarded to. Pickleball center fencing, that project is getting close to starting. It's going to start probably mid-April and take about 4 weeks to be completed, so that's exciting. Las Campanas Fitness Room in Santa Rita Springs, fitness center expansions, those projects haven't begun yet. We are still putting together a scope of work, and we'll have to go out for bid for those, but we expect to start and stop those projects probably this summer sometime. So, any questions on this report?
Jody?
I have a general question. Currently to date, do we have any situations going with any other current pool or spa? Any maintenance, any concerns of anything with the?
Not that would be replacement. I mean, part of our maintenance, repair, and replacement does always include resurfacing, redecking, new plumbing, new filters, that type of thing. But at this time, nothing that we're concerned about in terms of another failure.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Thank you.
Great. All right, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. So the next thing would be the committee reports, and we'll start with the audit committee. Bev Lawless.
Nothing to report. We have a meeting next week, I believe. It's on Monday, I think.
Thank you. Board Affairs, I believe, Bart, you're going to give the report, being as how Candy was not able to get to the meeting last week.
That's right. I chaired it in Candy's absence, and it was a short meeting, and we did approve the report of our activity over the last year, and that's available at the meeting book. Thanks.
Thank you. Fiscal Affairs, Nellie Johnson.
We met yesterday and reviewed the financials for the first 2 months, and they're all reasonable as far as tracking on home sales. We also discussed the need and future planning for technology and information systems, which staff will be reviewing and bringing in closer to the budget season, which is in August.
Thank you, Nellie. Investments, Lanny Smith.
Nothing to report, no meeting held.
Okay, thank you. Nominations and elections, Beth Dingman.
Well, we have a lot to report. We held 2 forums. They were considered very well, and they were very good forums. 100% of the people felt that they were beneficial. 95 believed that they received the information that they needed in order to help them vote. 87% said they preferred the afternoon forums rather than we had wondered if they would prefer morning, but they said they would prefer afternoon. The problem was we had only 37 attendees at the March 4th forum and 24 at the March 11th, which adds up to 61 attendees. So we were somewhat discouraged by that. I think that the candidates all thought that the forums went very well, but it was very discouraging that not too many of the members showed up to hear them and to learn about how their positions. So anyway, that's the report. So I think we did as best we could. We probably need more advertising or some way to reach people next year to get them more interested and excited about coming. We had wine and food, which was really good.
That's always an encouragement. Thank you, Beth.
Kathy, can I add on to Beth's report
Sure.
for 1 second? Because I think she forgot this. That the forums, both of them were recorded, and we had several views that people did watch the recorded versions.
I think,
So-
as I recall at the meeting, Beth, wasn't there like 60 some odd people that looked at that viewed the second forum? And that was just from one day to the next. So there were quite a few views, more so than showed up. But I think the forums are just so important so that those people, our members, can come on at a different time if they can't make those meetings, to be able to review the forums online. It's very supportive of the people that are running, even if they couldn't make the actual meeting itself. So I think the whole committee was very happy with the way that the views and the people that turned out showed up. Planning and evaluation, excuse me, P&E finished their business, I believe, last August, so I'm not going to ask Steve to give us another report on that. The consent agenda is next. This would be all the items that we don't have any questions that are generally accepted and haven't had any questions with regards to the, unless somebody on the board does have something they would like to question, would be the Board of Directors regular meeting minutes, February 25th of 2026, the Board of Directors work session minutes from March 4th, 2026, and the financial statements for February of 2026. So these would all be approved in one motion if somebody would like to make that motion.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay.
I
and a
second.
I'm sorry, was
I
that?
second.
Jody Walker seconded it. All in favor, please raise your hand. Looks unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so we'll move on to the action items. The first item is the approval of the complimentary guest ID, and Scott is going to start us off on that.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. The board's being asked to decide and approve the complimentary guest pass policy recommendation. You'll recall that the previous recommended policy changes to both the complimentary guest card and the annual guest card were based on the goal of mitigating what could be considered abuse. The abuse is hard to monitor and catch since both cards allowed unlimited use and were not assigned to any specific guest. The recommended policy changes were intended to provide a reasonable solution in a fair, objective manner. During the February 25th board meeting, it became evident that some believe the recommended policy changes to the complimentary guest card treat single property owners unfairly, which necessitated a request from the board to hold a work session to discuss it further. That work session was scheduled and held on March 4th. There were 3 items that the board considered and discussed at that time. Number 1 was maintaining the current policy, which is, and it states this exactly, a single only annual guest card shall be issued to sole owner GVR members for no fee where there is no other person residing with the GVR member. The other option was to follow the Board Affairs Committee recommendation, which was to limit the current policy to 60 days of use annually. The third option, which didn't get a lot of traction but is still interesting, is to eliminate the complimentary guest pass altogether and instead adopt a policy that allows single property owners to acquire daily, weekly, or even monthly guest passes for their guests free of charge and on an as-needed basis. Under the circumstances and given the concerns about equality of single property owners versus two-person property owners, staff is recommending maintaining the current policy, at least until a more equitable solution can be identified. Can you pull up the motion, recommended motion? Thank you. Going to make a slight amendment to the recommended motion from what is in your packet. We had said that we would
This is Del Sol.
Oh, this is Del Sol. This would be the wrong one.
Keeping us on our toes, are you?
Next item, Nancy. Thank
All
you.
right. So this is the recommended motion, which is to maintain the current policy, and with the understanding that staff will continue to monitor any potential abuse and report such findings to the board on a quarterly basis. That's really the only change from what's in your packet. And you can see where we've said we would report to the board on a quarterly basis. Well, there you go.
You haven't had applause in a long, long time.
No, I usually don't get applause, so that's very nice.
It is very nice. Thank you for the report.
You're welcome. Any questions? All right.
Do we want to take a motion to start, Beth?
Yeah, I still just have the question of, if you see that there's use of one complimentary guest pass for many, many times, and you go to check that out, what is the position of GVR? Like if you go and you say, oh, we see that your guest has used this 47 times in the last 3 weeks or whatever, over the number that, let's say over the 60 allotted. Does GVR have any recourse at that point to limit further use of that card? That's all.
Go ahead, Scott.
Under the current policy, the answer is no, because there is no limitation on how many times that complimentary guest pass can be used. I think the appropriate course would be for us to contact that member and say, are you aware that your guest card, your complimentary guest card has been used 47 times? We just want to make sure this was a legitimate guest and that you're aware of it. I think that's a good way to kind of inform people that we're at least watching. And some may welcome that and say, oh no, I wasn't aware of that. I can't even find it. Well, it's out there floating around in the world somewhere. So I think being aware of those types of things and contacting the owners is something, or the members is something that we can do to at least start to educate people a little bit more on this topic.
Kathy?
Yeah.
I'd like to make the motion. I'd like to move, do I have to read it? I make that motion, the complimentary guest policy as presented. I move to maintain the current policy.
Okay. Do I have a second? Candy? Okay, so it's open for discussion at this point, which Beth has started it off us. Also, just to make it clear that it's not for just anybody to use that card. I think you may be under the misunderstanding because we still have to, and I say we because I am a single, we still have to meet the requirements of a guest. And a guest would mean a guest is someone who lives 20 miles outside the borders of GVR. That's the first thing. So where Scott and his staff are running into some of the abuse, and they are picking him up, and they are trying to follow him as best they can with the amount of people that they have to do that. A lot of that has been people who live in non-GVR houses that are using those cards, and so those cards can be picked up, and the member that is giving that card out to a non-homeowner, non-GVR homeowner that is using that, they can pick up those cards, and then our GVR member is responsible for that. And Scott can deal with that as a part of our policies that are already in the CPM. I just want to make it clear that we do still have rules that we have to follow, but the reason this came up was because it seemed like single people who were receiving a complimentary guest card for the year were going to be penalized down to 60 days use per year, when in fact maybe they have a brother or a sister or anybody that comes to visit them. I have a friend that might want to come for 4 months, and I would use that card because she is not paying me rent. So she's not a renter, she is my guest, and she's looking to see whether or not she wants to move here. I have no issue with that. I have a guest card. She can go out and use the pools, she can use the fitness room, she can use anything that she wants to, but she cannot become a member of a club. That is another issue that we cannot use those cards for. So I think as long as we follow the rules, that there really is no reason to pull it back. But I would like to say that I think this board, going forward, needs to provide Scott and his staff with the resources for the people to enforce this policy, among other things. I mean, they've got lots to do, and I think we have, I think Scott has held back on replenishing some positions because we did not, as a board, want to increase dues. But there comes a time when we have to be able to do business, and that's one of the costs of doing business. Jody?
I forgot to mention, but we do have a couple petitions here from members of the audience and different groups that have submitted these, and we can certainly provide these to the board, but I just wanted to let you know that.
And we do really appreciate those petitions, because most of those people will be people that couldn't show up today. So I'm so appreciative of all of you that have shown up today, and after the board gets done discussing, then we'll open it up to comments from the members before we take a vote on this issue. So,
Okay.
Jody?
I have a question. Going forth, because this is always confusing for people, any data that we get on card usage, can we get confirmation that it's days usage and not swipes? When you guys get the data, do you guys get the data in the days usage or swipes?
You know, we have only at this time, and this is maybe an IT question, but at this time, the only card that is associated with days is the 60-day annual guest punch card. Everything else is based on swipes. So we
Okay.
don't, all the others, although I will say the weekly and the daily guest pass are based on days, if that's what you're talking about.
Okay.
But it's not, it's unlimited swipes.
I understand.
It's not subject
hang
to
on,
one swipe a day.
I get that. So their card, a singles card, your numbers are the number of times it's swiped. So if they
believe that's
go in through
correct.
Laka or down to
Swipe.
East Center, they swipe at the gate, they swipe at the pool, so that's 2. And that total that you had given us before said that there was 30 people that had used over 100 times. So that could basically have been only 50 days.
Could have been.
Because, or, again, my husband goes to the fitness center twice a day, 6 days a week.
Right.
And when he enters, that's 4 swipes. So some of these cards, there's no abuse. If we don't have the quantifiable data to the number of days when they're looking at swipes. So we have to be very cognizant of the data that we're getting. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay,
I
I just
understand
wanted
what
to
you're
make
saying,
sure.
but, and I also understand it because the recommendation was to leave the policy as it is.
Okay, I understand, but you guys are saying that there's potential of.
There is abuse. We know there's
Abuse.
abuse.
Okay, but
We
if-
absolutely
if
know
we're
there's
getting-
abuse.
I
You know,
understand.
the data is there to on some level say, yes, abuse does happen, but we have examples regularly of even members coming in and say, hey, I'm renting an Airbnb and my landlord left this pass on the kitchen counter, and it's a complimentary annual guest pass or just a regular guest pass. And we have to say, I'm so sorry, you're a tenant,
Right.
and so you need a tenant card, and we can't give you this pass back.
No, I understand.
So we have examples of that pretty
Right,
regularly,
okay,
unfortunately.
But going forward, because you're saying that you're going to provide us additional data going forward, with potentially that we might be looking at abuse. I just wanted to make sure that this board is aware the data that we're getting and how it's quantified. The other thing is, I have a question. We can't confirm that the use of that card, who's using it, correct?
Not unless we're right there.
Okay, so I have a question. How many of you guys picked up your complimentary guest card and used it because you couldn't find your annual pass? Have gone No, my husband has misplaced his guest card or his regular card and has used our complimentary guest card. So I'm wondering how many of the single users potentially might be using that complimentary card in place of their card. I don't know. That's just a potential situation that we are not aware that the actual owner is using that complimentary card too. That's just a concern.
Marge?
I made the motion, and so I'd like to speak to it. I think the actual administration of the motion, whether it's being abused, how long it's abused, how often, that's a staff thing, that's a Scott thing. That's not a board thing. I think we as a board need to not mess with what works, what people are happy with, and what is fair for members who are only singles. And if sometime in the future we want to change it, we can talk about changes then. But for now, I think if there is a problem, and Scott's saying there is, that's his business as our CEO. And it's up to him to figure out how to use the staff he has or the money he has to hire the staff to go and find out what's going on. So, because the abuse is not just the single. It can be anything. I mean, my guest card, if I buy a yearly guest card and I let my hairdresser use it, I mean, that's as big a violation as, Kathy giving it to her neighbors. So I think that the actual day-to-day working of this and deciding, if he's going to withdraw a card from somebody is a staff decision, not a board.
Yeah, I think most people, most homeowners are looking at this, as I looked at it, that we were losing a portion of our equality rather than it being an abuse issue. That's why I brought it up, because I looked at it as, part of the singles get to have another card because they are living with somebody, and that's good for 365 days. And when it was established in 2020, it did not quantify any less days for the single homeowners for the complimentary guests. I do not believe that most sole homeowners abuse this. I'm quite sure, just based on the figures that Scott gave to us, 2/3 of the people this last year that had complimentary guest cards did not even use them. So 1/3 did use them, and I'm guessing that there's a few within that third that looked like they were abusing it, and Scott has had those people come into his office questioning things. Rightfully so, the staff has been pulling the cards from those people when it was given out incorrectly. I think at this point, we need to look forward to moving on and hopefully not have to deal with this equality issue again. This is the second time since I have been in GVR in the last 11 years that it's come up. I really don't want to see it come up a third time if we don't have to. I think we're all on the same page at this point. I expect Scott's going to be here till the day he dies, and therefore he's going to remember, if somebody wants to bring this up again, he's saying, no, I'm not doing that one again. So if any other board members we did go through this quite thoroughly at the work session, and there were a lot of you here that were at that work session, which we greatly appreciated. So if there's any other board members that have comments I want to make, otherwise I'll open it up to the members sitting in the audience to make a comment. No? Okay, if there's anybody, come up to the microphone, please, and you can kind of stand in a line behind one another. And if you will, please give us your name, your GVR number, or your address, and you have 2 minutes, each one of you, to make a comment.
Hi, thanks. Jeff Washburn. My address is 690 North
Jeff,
Observation
I'm sorry,
Trail.
you're going to need to be a little closer to that microphone. These
Can you
microphones.
hear me now?
There you go.
Most
Thank
people,
you.
I don't need a microphone. Sorry. Anyway, Jeff Washburn, 690 North Observation Trail. I spoke to this last month. I want to congratulate the board for reconsidering this issue, and I speak strongly in favor of the motion as has been written, and ask you to pass it and continue work on some of these other issues that have come up in the discussion in further meetings. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jeff.
Hi, I'm Sue Boovy.
Sue, can you pull that microphone down a little bit? There you go. Thank
Too
you.
short. My number is 257-800. And I also thank the board for reconsidering this issue. I think going forward, I hope you will vote positively and then maybe look at some of the terminology that you're using for some of these different passes. I think it's very confusing to members of GVR. And I look forward to a positive vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Hello, my name is Rick Browning, 193646. I'm actually kind of here speaking on behalf of my mom and dad. My dad passed away 2015. My mom is still here. They came down here in 1976. Jody, you've met my mom. Linda Browning at the pool. Oh, okay. Okay. The original GVR number is 012923. Tells you how long they've been here. Two things before this board that are affecting her. One, she's single now, has a guest pass. I doubt has been used 10 times in the last 5 years. You know, but I don't want to see her lose in case a family member comes in from way out of town. Two is the pool. That was her life. Still is. She's going to the E-Center, but that's not where all of them go. She's lost her group of friends. So that's the two things I want to address going forward and why I show up for every meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Feist. Excuse me. GVR number 240381. I'm here to speak about, and thank you for considering this complimentary guest policy. I've been a single GVR property owner since 2007. I never minded paying the full GVR dues with only one person using the facilities, and I really appreciated the complimentary guest card for the few times that a family member has come down to join me and visit, and never abused it, hardly use it, but it's appreciated. The other people I'd like to speak for are the folks that probably can't get to one of these meetings, and that's the really elderly population that are here. That might be the only thing that they get, that they can use. If they get a visitor, a lot of people that are really older can't use the facilities anymore, do not belong to any clubs or use any of the workshops or anything that are there. So I would like to urge you to vote with your heart and conscience. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Hi, Beth Learman, badge number 199939. I am in a two-family home with my husband and myself, and I don't think it's fair that you guys were considering changing it for the single homes. If there is a problem with abuse, we need to look at it in a different way. There's got to be a way that you guys can figure it out. I've been here 14 years, never once been questioned. But there was a time I went to the pool one day and I had my yearly guest pass in the back of this and I didn't renew it. And I actually scanned the wrong one. I did get a phone call and I told them it was my mistake. I am sorry, I will take it off and keep that separate. So I mean, it does happen by accident. Nothing was malice about it. Nobody was with us. But if I want to abuse my pass, I can just hand it to one of my neighbors and say, go ahead and use it today. If we're going to abuse it, we're going to abuse it. And if we're not, like most people that live here, are not going to do that to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
I'm Donna Ray. My badge number is 262339. And I just wanted to read an excerpt from the GVR Code of Conduct. It is the policy of GVR to treat all people with dignity, respect, and equality, regardless of age, race, color, ancestry, country of origin, disability, ethnicity, marital status, family status, veteran status, gender, religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity. So I would really appreciate the consistency of sticking to the policy.
Thank you, Donna.
Hello, my name is Marlene Baggett, 259-158. My husband and I are in a two-family cardholder home, and I really believe that they should have a guest pass, the solos should have a guest pass, because eventually all of us that are in two card holders are eventually going to be solo people. So I think that, you know, with that coming, we're all going to be in the same boat that they are. And last week, we were at the pickleball court playing pickleball, and we saw people that were on the pickleball courts that had came over from the swimming pool area that we knew were not supposed to be there, on the court with shoes that they shouldn't have been wearing, had their beach towels and everything, and nobody was out there asking them, why aren't there people questioning, why isn't there somebody at every location, like the RSA person, going out and questioning people every hour or so, just saying, can I check your card? I think that should be an option that they should be doing if they think people are abusing it. Why aren't they checking that? That's just my thought.
Thank you, Marlene.
Maria Acevedo, 204705. I had a long speech to give, but a lot of people have already gone through these. But the misuse, I think that there could be a number of things causing this misuse of the card. Maybe it's not a clear understanding of how to use their cards, whether it's from a two-member household or a solo homeowner. But apparently the solo homeowners that own that complimentary card, they're being targeted. Like Jody mentioned, the swipes that are occurring, are they at a swipe at the entry door, another one at the other, wherever they go? I could go in for one thing and I have to swipe 2 times, okay? So I think some clear understanding of the data, research the data, and go after the abusers. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And Maria, thank you for all of the petitions that you provided to us. You were very active in getting everybody involved in this, and we really do appreciate it.
Thank you. And there's more coming, but she's not there with another list.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I have to read this number to you, 216219.
And your name, sir?
My name is Tim Cameron, and I'm a full-time resident for 12 years. I graduated from Western Colorado University, and I majored in PE and recreation management. I was also on the board of directors of one of the largest recreation districts in Colorado. I have a minor in business law. I've never been to one of your board meetings. I just trusted you guys were doing a great job, rocking on, and until I heard about this initiative as a single household person. And before I go on, I meant to mention, and I'm gonna have to put I was on the board of directors of the Green Valley Hunt and Fish Club, and I was responsible for talking to Miles when he was a employee of GVR, because I felt it was very important that before we started each meeting, and I think it is spread throughout the GVR, that we say the Pledge of Allegiance. So you can do what you want with that, but I think it's an important part of our lives today. So I'll go back onto the guest pass. So I'm not going to go on into the night and pontificate with you. I just have a couple of points I'd like to make. I think you should consider cases of precedent and hope you understand that the courts generally do not rule in favor of those who act, and this isn't pointed at any of you or the board, it's pointed at actions. The courts generally do not rule in favor of those who act arbitrarily or capriciously. This initiative smacks of discrimination. Full household versus one person in a household. We all pay the same dues. Why are some single homeowners being treated differently from those in multiple households? Now, I may not have a full grasp on your final decision here. I'm not sure the board has thought through all the ramifications and potential legal actions that this initiative, if approved, will have. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tim.
Hi, my name is Mike Schultz, card number 000257. I've lived here 30.
Really?
000257.
You're an early on.
I've been a member of GVR for 33 years.
Oh my goodness, wow.
And played a lot of tennis with Marge. I really want to thank the board and all of your staff and everything you do for GVR. I've enjoyed every minute of living here. But I'm confused, which is not an uncommon state for me. Michelle, my partner of 17 years, has lived in my house for the last 10 years. And part of that, we went through this first time around, a guest card, not guest card, what involves a guest. And she has her own account. And I'm assuming that's perfectly okay, even though it's only my name on the deed. I'd be happy to put her name on if that were a criteria, and I don't know that it is. You would have to say that. But the second question is, as a single homeowner, am I entitled to another complimentary guest card? So I've got two questions here. She's a perfectly good, recognized member of GVR, her own card, her own account and everything, and I assume that stays that way even though it's in a single family-owned home. And then there's the question of this second complimentary card. Friends come out from Chicago. Should I ask for a complimentary card? All these years I've just been buying one. And I don't care one way or the other. I just want some clarification.
Mike, the way that the rule is set up and what was adopted in January 1st, 2020 was that each household would get 2 cards. So for the single property owners, who were the only ones on the deed, if they were living with someone, had a partner like you do, that second person got a card for that property.
Okay.
If you
in
were,
their own name?
In their own name, yes.
Okay. Which is what
and a
Michelle
picture,
did.
they got a picture too.
Yeah.
And then the second part of that is if you lived in a house by yourself, like I did, then you got a complimentary guest card to use for your guests who came in, whoever they might be. You had no way of putting a picture on it, but it might be different people each time. Those are the only 2 that apply to a single homeowner. So you're not entitled to another guest card because you got one for your partner.
Okay.
Okay?
That's what I wanted to clear up.
Okay.
Thank you all very much for everything you do.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody, for coming and giving us your thoughts. And with that, the board is now going to vote on the motion. Do you want to put, oh, Nancy's got that up on the screen again. Do you want to read it again, Scott?
Sure. The motion is to maintain the current policy, Part 1, Section 2.1.2.1A.5.B of the Corporate Policy Manual, which states a single-only annual guest card shall be issued to sole owner GVR members for no fee where there is no other person residing with the GVR member, at least until and if a more equitable solution can be identified, with the understanding that staff will continue monitoring use and what could be considered abuse of complimentary guest cards and reporting to the Board of Directors on a quarterly basis.
Thank you. So with that, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. And it looks like it's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We so appreciate your coming and giving us your input. We really do. And with that, we're going to move on to the next item, which is direction on Del Sol Clubhouse Cafe. Members only and/or non-members, and approve the CPM. I'm not going to say all the numbers regarding the non-members, and Scott's going to take us through that.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. The board has provided direction to move forward with creating a GV-operated cafe at the Del Sol Clubhouse. Two unanswered questions remain. Does the board want to allow the general public into the cafe? And if so, does the board want to charge 25 cents per non-member? Upon further discussion with our staff is recommending restricting access to the cafe at the clubhouse at this time to those issued GVR membership identification cards, qualified guests and tenants, and life care members for the following reasons. One, the policy is consistent with all other GVR facilities. Two, upon reviewing camera footage during the previous licensee's tenure, it was apparent that many, and I put in the staff report most, but I'll bring that down to many non-members that were there previously were acquaintances or clients of the previous licensee. Once an exterior service window is installed, non-members will be able to patronize the cafe without having to gain entry to the cafe. And restricting access to members and qualified guests and tenants is consistent with private club liquor license requirements, should GVR embark on obtaining such a license in the future. If, however, the board wants to provide direction to allow non-members to access the cafe, then staff recommends foregoing the 25 cents for a non-member charge, since this additional fee is somewhat cumbersome and it can be off-putting to non-members who we actually want to come in and buy our products. If the board agrees, then the attorney recommends adding a subsection to the CPM regarding public access to the cafe. If the board wants to charge the 25 cents, you've already got the provision in the CPM to allow that. Again, staff is recommending at this time that public access be restricted. At some time in the future, if the board wants to expand that, our idea and thought is it's easier to expand than to retract. So at some time in the future, if you want to expand that to the public, we think the future would be a better time to do it than taking something away in the future. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to move to restrict the cafe at the Del Sol Clubhouse to those issued a GVR membership identification card per section 2.1, qualified guests and tenants per section 2.122, and life care members per section 2.1, of the corporate policy manual.
I second.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who did
I
that.
second.
Jody did a second, so we'll have discussion at this point. Nellie?
Just a couple of thoughts on it. When we talk about the clubhouse policy being consistent with other GVR facilities, the clubhouse is a different entity. And the cafe was intended to be for a social gathering place. So to say it has to be consistent with all the other facilities, it was really not intended to be consistent. It was intended to be a social gathering place where members could bring their guests to take part in the cafe. And so what we're saying here is that in order for a member to bring a guest, the guest has to be a qualified guest. You have to charge $5 a day to bring a guest for a cup of coffee. I don't think that really fulfills the intent of being a social gathering place. I understand not wanting to open it up to the general public, but when the members took the survey, there was a great interest in allowing them to open it up for their guests. And it also was in the staff report that if we were to look at, in our work session, deciding what guest policies could be in place, might we offer a less expensive guest pass that members can purchase and be able to use for the cafe only. So I think there's an option that we could consider that would allow the members to bring a guest and have a 25 cent a day pass to use the facility without having the member having to look at a $5 charge in order to use the cafe. I mean, that would fulfill the purpose of being a social gathering place.
Beth?
I wondered if you could, if Scott could elaborate a bit on the consistent with the private club liquor license compliance requirements and what it would look like if we opened it up to the public and at some point decided to do alcohol.
Sure. The private club liquor license is the same type of license that the Elks Club or the Legion has, where the public can't come into that facility. They must be accompanied by a member. And depending on the license, it's my understanding that there are restrictions such as, again, you have to be with the member, so it has to be a guest of yours. It can't just be open to the public. And if it is, then certain parts of the selling floor or the facility can only be accessed to the member or by the member and their qualified guests. So opening it up to the public, I think at this point could make it a little bit more difficult if we go down that road, because we would have to identify which part of the facility we would be able to serve and which part of the facility people would be able to most likely bring their drinks.
But you said in regard to the Elks that it was with their guests. So if you had all the doors locked and so a guest, a GVR member could open up the door with and bring their guests with them, as opposed to being open to the public where anybody can walk in, would that somehow qualify?
It would, yeah, no, and I think that's a different question. The first question is, do you want to open it up to the public or not? So this item specifically addresses opening it up to the public or not, because if it's opened up to the public, then we have to be really careful and restrict where we're going to serve alcohol and where alcohol can go. But in either scenario, a guest could come with the member and have a drink. In either scenario.
So I think the issue is the guest pass is $5.
Yeah, I agree. These are separate issues.
So I guess I would like to offer an amendment to the motion.
I have a question. Oh, sorry.
Before you do that, sorry, before you do that, Nellie, I have a comment. Sounds like Lanny has a comment. Before we get to an amendment to this, did you have a comment?
No, I have a question for Scott.
Okay. Do you mind just waiting just a second for the amendment, Nellie? Go
I
ahead.
have a question. I guess it's a little bit close to home. So I cycle, like most cyclists, you end cycling with a cafe. So right now we go to Posada Java and we go in, we haven't. So if I understand you correctly, I'm on my way home with 3 or 4 of my buddies. Most of them are from Quail Creek or somewhere else. You're saying I can't go in there with my 4 buddies?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying right now, unless they're qualified guests.
So you lose my business and I go to Posada.
No, I hear what you're
Okay,
saying.
no, I just needed to have that clarification.
I hear what you're saying, and I would like to say, we've kind of gone back and forth on this for the exact same reason that you mentioned, because we certainly don't want to turn away business. At the same time, we also felt, again, like it would be easier to expand. But if you want to expand from the beginning, I think that's certainly something that we can all live with.
But if you have a window, they could cycle up.
We have a service window, sure.
They have a service
Yeah.
window, they can sit outside.
And then you could sit outside.
Well, there's seating outside.
Kathy?
Hang on, one at a time. Marge.
Okay, I have a question, since I made the original motion. Can I add a sentence to the original motion that says a qualified guest? I mean, can we identify can I bring my daughter with me when I want to go out and have a cup of coffee or a sandwich? I mean, how can we word it so that allows Lanny to bring, his buddies he's bike riding? I mean, I hate to see us shut it down totally, but is there, Scott, can we qualify a guest? You've got
before I make
qualified guest right here per the CPM. You would
But they
have
don't, but I'm
to,
saying without a card, like.
yeah, I understand. You would have to add something like what Director Johnson's proposing, which would be they wouldn't necessarily need to meet the definition of a qualified guest, but they could accompany the member.
So if we say on the tail end of this that after the membership, as long as they're with a qualified guest, is that where
Sure.
you were heading, Nellie, with this? I mean, I think if we somehow say that we can bring a qualified guest, which would be, you know, a friend or a neighbor or a child or somebody visiting you, how can we say that?
I would just say a guest instead of the word qualified, if you were going to do that, because qualified is
So
is
we would
technically
say,
this other
move
thing.
to restrict the cafe at the Del Sol Clubhouse to those issued a GVR membership identification card and/or qualified, and/or guest, and guests, and guests. Wouldn't be or, it would be and, right?
Well, you still, I believe you would still want your qualified guests, tenants, and life care members to be able to go to the cafe. So I would
Put it on
consider
the
leaving
end.
that language there, but adding guest if the guest is accompanied by the member.
Okay, so we could say, there she goes, she's got me going here. If the guest is accompanied by the member, would that meet
You
all?
could say and a guest, and maybe we would want to say a guest that isn't necessarily a qualified guest. This could be anybody. Again, somebody that's in Quail Creek isn't going to be a qualified guest. So if you want to be able to allow that, then we just want to be very clear on what the motion is.
If I made a motion to add that, if the guest is accompanied by the member, that would cover that criteria?
I think it would. Chris has some confusion, though. Chris, what's your confusion?
To avoid any confusion like we may have run into in the past, should we put a number on that?
No.
A number?
Yes, so if you're out and about, you could bring 27 people in with you.
Well, if they're going to spend money, sure. You know, I mean, if they're my guests.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if I have,
Happen.
say, my daughter and her husband and her 2 adult children are visiting us, that's 4.
That's a guess.
If I brought them out for a snack at lunch, I should be able to bring, I don't think we should qualify numbers, because I don't think that Steve and Lanny will bring 27. I think, you know, maybe some will bring 2 or 3, 1. We could try it without locking it down. Would you be okay with that?
That's you guys.
Yeah, this is a policy.
Yeah.
We're here just to play the devil's
I'd like
advocate to
just
some
leave
degree
it.
because
I would like to make a motion that, to end, added to my motion, that if the guest is accompanied by the member, so that any member can bring a guest. So Kathy doesn't have to bring her guest card, and I don't have to go buy a guest card to bring my daughter.
I understand. Okay.
Bart, you had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, this language that uses the word qualified is a little confusing to me because we usually refer to authorized guest, not qualified guest. I'm not sure if there's a difference between a qualified guest and an authorized guest, but if there is no difference, I really think we ought to call them authorized, not qualified. And if they're authorized guests, they're presumably going to have in their possession a pass that's going to get them in. So we don't, in other words, I'm assuming, am I correct, Scott? There's going to be a scanner at the door and you'll have to scan your GVR card in order to get into the place?
If it's going to be restricted to members and their guests, yes, we would restrict that front door.
And as to this, you know, the other thing that was mentioned about bringing people who are, you know, are clearly not authorized guests, somebody who lives in Quail Creek and is a fellow bicyclist or whatever. You know, this gets back to the fundamental issue that we've been discussing for a couple of years, or one of the fundamental issues. And do we really want to compete with Posada Java or Mocha, or there's another one. There's a couple of other ones in Green Valley. You know, they have it tough enough without us overtly choosing to compete with them. I really like the original language of this motion, which is for members, qualified guests, and tenants. But I am troubled by expanding that so that we really seem to be trying to turn ourselves into an actual full-fledged competitor to businesses in Green Valley, other businesses in Green Valley, for-profit businesses. I'm perfectly willing to support the original motion, but I'm not so sure about expanding it so that we become more of a competitor to those businesses. Thank you.
Nellie?
I think the point that I was looking at on that the issue of the member bringing in a guest, the question to me is there a fee or no fee? To me, it would be clear to say if the guest is accompanied by a member, there is no fee. So that the $5 guest fee doesn't apply. We're not going to charge them 25 cents because it doesn't, it's difficult to administer or whatever. But it would be clear to say that if you are, a guest has got to be accompanied by the member. When they're coming to the cafe, there is no charge.
If I could just make a comment based on what Scott is submitting here. We tried the outside vendor for the social gathering, and I certainly supported that 100%. As we went on, we had some issues. So we're looking at now, is my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, that we're starting anew, we're handling it in-house, and is for our members, and we're taking steps or phases, I think is how Scott put it before. The first phase is to start slow with only certain things being offered, and then the second phase as they feel comfortable going a little bit higher. This issue of the liquor license doesn't come up until later on, but it's something to look at right now for future. But right now, as he said, we could develop in that to go forward and higher than we are to start out with. My thought would be the original wording would be good to keep it to GVR members and
Their guests.
qualified or whatever term you want to use as a guest. It just seems to me we're trying to start something anew. So maybe we should do everything anew and then grow from there as staff can handle it. And that would just be my comment. Lanny?
My example is just a clarifying question. It wasn't a statement of position, so I want that to be very clear. Whoa. I actually support the staff's recommendation because I think we should learn to walk before we run, and staff are the people that are going to be running this organization, and I think I want to rely on their experience and their recommendations, how the Del Sol Cafe should unfold over time. So I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Can I have a point of information on
Nellie?
on Marge's motion? Marge, and if the guest is accompanied by the member, is there a charge for the guest under your motion?
No,
okay.
and we could say that if the guest is accompanied by the member, there is no charge.
Okay.
Or, and a guest, we would say, and the guest, and a guest accompanied by the member at no charge?
At no charge, okay. And was that seconded?
No,
No,
not yet.
not yet. Hang on just one second, Steve, because Jody had her hand up first.
No, go ahead, let Steve.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
All right, I think we're making this way too difficult, all right? This 25 cents thing is not even worth taking care of. It's
Right.
too hard to administer, and it's not worth it. If we have a guest, they're going to have a pass. They can use an annual guest pass, all right? They have 60 swipes, 60 days. This qualifies, then you're going to have to get them one, okay? They're a guest of GVR. We require a guest pass for all our guests at all the other facilities. I don't know why we need qualified guests. You know, they're a guest, and we have all these rules in our CPM on what a guest needs to do. Why are we treating the Del Sol Clubhouse special? It's a facility in Green Valley Rec, and I think we should just maybe amend a few words here on the recommended motion and vote on it.
Okay, Jody?
Okay, I think the reason why it's qualified guests, because that's how it's identified in the CPM. That's the only reason why, I believe. That's my take. Again, we need to go baby steps. We can revisit who we allow into our facilities down the road after we see some success. Like Steve said, we're making this way too difficult. We should have been out of here 5 minutes ago. I don't think we need to open it to anybody other than members and somebody that has a guest pass per our CPM at the moment. And we can visit this after we get 60 or 90 days down the road.
Okay, Bev?
I would like to see members, a guest accompanied by a member only, not coming in on their own. So if Lanny's Quail Creek friends want to come without him, they can't. But if he wants to bring them for a cup of coffee, that would be okay with me. I've got guests coming this weekend. They're not going to go use the pools, so I'm not going to buy a guest pass because they didn't bring swimsuits. They can't play tennis or pickleball. There's no other facility that they can use other than that. I could show them GVR and take them out for a cup of coffee if they were allowed in. And I don't think they need to be a member for that. They should be able, it should be like the Elks Club. If they're with a member, they can come in. And only if they're with a member. If they're not with a member, they can't come in.
Yeah, Scott?
Okay, a couple thoughts. I'm fine with changing the word qualified to authorized. If I don't remember exactly why we chose qualified, but authorized is fine. We can change that language. I think, honestly, speaking for myself, I'm comfortable with going either direction on what's being proposed. In the last sentence, though, I do think it shouldn't start with an and, it should start with an or. Otherwise, it looks like it's a qualifier that any of those guest tenants, life care members must be accompanied by a member as well. So it's really one or the other. They can either be a qualified guest or authorized guest, tenant, life care member, the member, or if the guest is accompanied by a member, I don't think you need to have at no charge. It doesnn't hurt to put it in there, but I don't think it's necessary.
I think it is. I want to argue that. I think it is important that we say that we're not going to charge extra, that we don't have to run down and get a $5 tenant card.
It's clear.
Or $5 guest card just to take them out for a cup of coffee.
I can't argue with that. So we're going to put that back in, Nancy.
Put that back in, Nancy.
Steve?
I have a question about how this would work if my son was visiting and he wanted to go to the clubhouse to play pool with my guest pass. And he wanted to go up to the cafe and get a bite to eat. And I'm not with him, right? Are we saying that I have to be with him for this to work?
No, he has your guest card.
Hold on, let me answer if I could. We don't need 5 people answering the question. This is exactly why we changed the last sentence to or, because if it's and, then yes, you would have to accompany him. Since he's a qualified authorized guest, he can go there on his own, as long as he's got the pass. Okay? Thank you all for letting me answer. Yes, ma'am.
Keep forgetting to turn this on. So that wording then would allow if I wanted to take somebody who's come down from Tucson, and I want to take them out for a cup of coffee.
Yep, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't need a pass for that.
Or somebody who lives within the 20-mile limit, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody, right?
Okay, so as near as I can tell, Marge has adjusted her motion to what's on the screen.
I will second.
Okay, so there you go.
And
Is that a
Jody, you
friendly
had the
amendment?
original second anyway, so the two of you are agreed on that. Did you still want to make any kind of an amendment, Nellie? Okay, so that would be the motion that we are voting on.
I have one question.
Lanny?
Oh, I thought you were looking at,
Oh, no, Lanny.
you were talking to me, but looking at him.
I always point at Steve, but he's behind you.
Yeah, so my question is to staff. Do you have a preference of original or the amended?
Honestly,
no,
I really don't know that I
I
do. And at the same time, I know that you're all really excited when I make recommendations. So I'm going to have to pull back and say, I can go either way on this one. But I'm very sensitive to you and your biking pals wanting to come for coffee. So given that, I'm probably going to recommend you go with the amended motion. Thank you, Lanny.
Okay, Steve?
This, I think, could be the opening, which I can support, of allowing people that live within 20 miles.
I
to-
don't, you know.
Then we
I
would,
wouldn't even
then we
go
would
there.
need them to have.
You're going to kill this motion.
But maybe we need to be concerned about that for
this is the-
our members, right?
That 20-mile limit is in both the bylaws and the CPM. It's not going anywhere if the members don't approve it. Has to be a membership vote.
Right.
For that. So just keep that in mind. It's not something that is just going to be done.
One quick question.
Yes.
Changing it to what this was instead of your original recommendation, what does that impact on you?
I don't think it impacts anything, you know. Since we're still of the like mind that it's not going to be open to the public, as long as there's somebody in there and everybody has their card, they're getting in the front door. We had kind of contemplated, if it was going to be open to the public, having a card reader at the register so that we could identify who's member, who's non-member. I don't know that we need to do that for guests. It seems more complicated. Once you're in the door with your guest, you're in the door, in my opinion.
Okay, as long as you're saying that, that means we could have an issue with the people who are playing pool downstairs, where you have non-members coming down there. So I think we need to identify that for cafe only, as we did before.
I don't think, yeah. Yeah, I think this does say just the cafe. We took the gate off going down to the billiards, but we're working on another solution. So like before, we'll have a gate or something that says members only, just like going into the rec side of the building, it would say members only.
And if we could have a sign at the front door that says members, non-members allowed only in the cafe area, or something to that effect. I don't care how you word it. Bev?
But previously, when I've been there, I didn't have to swipe my card, and I want to make sure that the door is locked so that it only opens with a swipe like other places.
It has been, yeah.
Okay.
Ever since the licensee moved out that
Okay.
day, we reinstituted the front door swiping requirements.
So if somebody comes with a member, the member still has to swipe to get in the door. Any other discussion on this before we vote? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to it? Rick?
Come on. Someone.
Again, Mike Schultz, 000257. I want to agree with Steve Reynolds. I believe this is a membership-only organization. It's what we pay for. It's deed restricted. And I don't believe we should be in the business of retailing anything at a clubhouse, bars, saloons, cafes, coffee, nothing. Members only come to these facilities. That's what we pay for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Rick Browning. Sound like to a degree you're thinking about opening a restaurant. You may want to make a little bit of money, but don't want to make too much. I can't speak for the Legion, which I'm a member of, but if I take Scott or Kathy or somebody over there, I can get them in. They cannot buy a drink. Events, they can buy lunch, dinner, stuff like this, but it is restricted for drink. I have to buy everything. So you have the possibility to do something like here. I can take a guest in, maybe requiring the GVR member to pay for stuff. So.
Yeah, I think that is most likely, as I understand, the private club liquor license requirement.
Yeah.
I think the member has to buy the drink.
Yes, yes. And I don't know if there's a restriction on how many guests I can bring in, at one time.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm not sure.
I don't know either, but we're looking into it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a point, when you're talking about using the Elks as an example, you have to pay $5 to get into the Elks if you're a guest. That's what you have to pay. If you're not a member of Elks, you have to pay a $5 guest fee. And in my working relationship back in California with the same type of liquor license at that time, again, it was the same thing. The member had to pay for anything that the guest ordered. But I just want to clear that up with the Elks, because it almost sounds like people are saying, well, if you go to the Elks, you don't, you can come in as a guest, but you do have to pay as a guest, $5 every time you go in as a guest. Okay, so are we ready to vote? Okay, the motion is on the screen. Motion was made by Marge, seconded by Jody. So all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. It was a good discussion. Okay, so next item on the agenda is approve the FAC recommendation on use of the surplus funds. David Webster is going to provide that for us. Thank you, David.
We can discuss that. Okay, so yes, we're looking for direction. And there's really two policies that come into play here. One is the surplus policy, and the good news is that for the year 2025, we did have a surplus, and by surplus, it's a prescribed, CPM prescribed methodology for calculating a surplus. And the intent is to determine if there is a surplus, and there was one around $145,000, and also to determine if we should transfer that surplus to any restricted fund. And running parallel and independently, along with that policy, the surplus policy, we also have a 90-day operating cash policy. And that's a board approved policy that says that at our low point in the year, we strive to not fall below 90 days of operating cash. Well, in November of 2025, we did fall below that 90-day rule, and it was around $900,000. And it's, I think it was 32 days that we fell below the 90-day rule, and we have for several years. Don't want to sound like that's bad news. We're healthy and we're okay, but we're not quite meeting that benchmark that we set for ourselves. So what we're looking for is direction is what should we do with that operating surplus from 2025? And staff, I think it's in your binder, your report, staff is recommending that we leave that operating surplus in operating cash funds to help offset that deficit, that shortfall from that November balance. And we do project that we're going to have another good year this year in 2026. It's early in the year, but we do project, even if we meet our budget, we're going to fall short of the 90-day operating cash rule. So it was kind of a long discussion, but the short is we recommend that we leave the operating cash surplus in our operating cash. And this was discussed at the FAC committee yesterday, and I think I can report out that it was the consensus was to do that, to leave the operating cash in our operating funds.
Thank you. Scott, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think he's covered it.
Okay.
Thank you. That's our recommendation and the
anybody?
FAC's recommendation.
Bev?
Well, it's my understanding we typically fall below the 90-day rule in November. And we know that money's going to start coming in December, so it's not really something to worry about. What we don't know is when are we going to have to replace the pool again, or which pool we're going to have to say, no, sorry, we can't rebuild that pool because we can't afford it. I think we need to start beefing up the MRNRB policy or reserve. And if you're not comfortable maybe with giving them 50% of our surplus, maybe make it 40% or 30%, but we need to start increasing that, and we need to start doing it now. I'm not concerned that we're falling below 90 days. I know it's a great policy to have, and we need that, but we also know December's going to take care of it. So I think we need to at least put some of the money into MRNRB, change the percentage maybe, but we need to start addressing that now.
Nellie, I'm sorry, Jody had her hand up first.
Okay. I agree with Bev. I'm going to make a motion. We go with option number 2. We know our MMRB is suffering. And again, we've been below the 90 days. Additionally, I am going to throw a challenge down to the fiscal affairs to roll up our sleeves, sharpen our pencils, pull back a little bit, and not spend as much money from year to year until we can get things turned around. I think there are some areas that we could not move forward on a few things if we have to.
We hire Elon Musk?
So my motion is to go forward with number 2.
Okay, number 2.
Needs a second.
So
I
it's
second.
it would be for 50/50.
Yep.
Okay, is there a second? Bev?
I would like to amend that motion if I can, or do we have to wait for a second?
I think we have to wait for a second, actually, if that, because there may not be a second, so if there's no second, then we can do a different.
Yeah, she seconded
I
it.
second it.
Okay, I'm sorry, Candy, you're seconding? Okay. Okay, so discussion, so Bev wants to make a slight amendment to that.
I would like to go with option 2 also, but I would like to amend the 50% to MRNRB to 40%, 30%. What number would you like, David?
It's up to the board. I mean, really, I'm not trying to, our recommendation was leaving it operating cash. I'm not going to lose a moment's sleep if you guys adjust that, okay? That's my honest response.
You're retiring.
Well, but I want to be fair, and it's up to the board.
So Bev, what was the
Number 2, let's make it 40% at the pools.
40%?
I second that motion.
And Beth is seconding. Okay. To 40% to the pools, MRNRB, and 60% to operating, is that? Okay. Is there any discussion on that? Steve?
So yesterday at the fiscal affairs meeting, which was David's last meeting, thank you, David, we talked about this in depth. You guys didn't get the graph, but we're projected to meet that 90-day threshold sometime in the end of September or 1st of October. So it's going to be more than just November. In the past, we've had deficits which we have not replenished the cash account. So this just kicks the can down the road. Whenever you have a deficit and don't replenish the cash, you're always going to be trying to make that up. There are some uncertainties this year with the economy, the war, and the housing market is very soft now. We're expecting to be under budget by 17 houses after March. So I think there could be the need, and based on the CPM, I'd like to I think I lean towards leaving the money in the operating account. I know that our pools and spas reserve is underfunded, but this is not going to save it. We're putting an extra 7% into that fund annually. And if we do retain all 13 pools in Green Valley Rec, we're going to need a bigger lift to financially sustain our aquatics. And I think that could be part of the 5-year strategic plan. So
Steve,
that's where I'm
I
leaning.
think your 3 minutes is up. Nancy's pointing at me.
So I want to make sure.
Is that an amendment that or a motion that you're making for the number 1? Because we didn't get a motion on the number 1, did we?
We have a motion on the table.
We do have?
Okay, that's
I'm
what
sorry,
I want to
missed that.
clarify. We have a motion on the above one, and then Bev amended that motion. We did not get a second for the amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
Beth
thank
did.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Scott?
Yeah, I would like to point out, not only has your staff, but your fiscal affairs committee has recommended leaving the cash in the operating fund. You adopted a 90-day cash policy in 21 or 22, and you're under almost $1 million. If you're not going to support the policy, then I would recommend amending the policy and make it a 60-day cash minimum. But there's a reason that you adopted that policy, and I think you should follow your policy. That's really where we're going here. As Steve pointed out, we are increasing the pool fund by an additional 7% every year. Even though the pool fund is underfunded, it is not a crisis. We have enough money to rebuild the Abrego pool this year and another pool next year if we need to. The following few years, we would have to replenish, so we would hope that we wouldn't lose another pool in years 3 and 4, but it is very unlikely that that's going to happen. I'd also like to point out the $70,000 split, maybe $65,000 split, that's not going to save the pool fund. That's not going to build a pool. So I maintain and recommend that we go with your policy, which is to leave that operating cash in cash.
Okay, as I understand, I'm not sure who made the motion in the second on the number 1 was to leave the operating cash or the surplus in the operating cash fund. The number 2 was moved by Bev and seconded by Candy to go 50% to pools, 50% to operating, and then Bev amended her original to be 40% to pools and 60% to operating. So Beth seconded that one. So we're dealing with 3, and we need to do them backwards,
No,
right?
correction. We never
correction.
had a motion on
Correction.
number 1.
Yeah, number 1 was just a recommendation.
We didn't have a motion on
Wonder
that. Okay, that's-
number 1, wasn't it Walker in English?
Okay, hang on. Number 1 was a recommendation that they moved for it, but it was never seconded. I came up with the original motion to do the 50-50. Candy seconded that. Then Bev amended my motion to 40% the pools, and that was seconded by Beth. Am I correct? Everybody following?
Yeah, I don't recall there was a motion and a second on what you've identified as the main motion.
Yeah,
Right, no,
I
there
don't
wasn't.
recall that.
I think the second option was the motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kathy, can I make another amended motion on
Hang on
top of
just
the
a minute. I
amended?
want to make sure. So are we in agreement there was no original for the number 1 where the staff recommended we leave it in the operating? We started with the 50% to pools, 50% to operating. Then it was amended to 40% to pools and 60% to operating. Marge, now would you like to do something?
Yeah, I'd like to have an amendment to the motion to direct the staff to leave the 2025 operating funds in the GVR's operating cash fund. And the reason I think we ought to do that is half of 144,000 is a drop in the bucket when you're talking about an $11 million budget. You know, if Scott says we're okay, we got a pool covered this year, we got a pool covered next year, we're putting 7% in. Steve says we got to cover the 90%. That's my thoughts behind that. Second me, will you?
No.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I think we have a motion on the table.
We do.
Mine was an an amendment on top of the motion.
But that's a separate motion. We have a motion on the table and
We ha-
seconded.
We have the motion and the second, and
We have to
amended,
vote on it.
amendment
Vote
to
on it.
this, to the motion and the second. And then now we have the third. We have the third motion to go with the number one recommended motion. Okay, so typically we do them last first. Nellie?
No, first. So it's this motion here. I just want to speak on
I
the
have no idea.
finance part. It was discussed in the Finance Committee. It was actually a vote of 7-2 for the motion to leave it inside the operating surplus. The dialogue that we did have on it was a concern with regard to the status of the pool fund. And when you look at guidelines on the page 20, where it says it's fully funded at 33%, that's actually a poor rating for a pool fund, according to the reserve thing. So the discussion that took place was the fact that we need to step back and take a look at our adequacy of our pool fund, how the MR&RA fund fits into it before, I would say in the very near future, before we move on any funding for any pools, that we have a better understanding of the pool funds. So 70,000 doesn't make or break the pool fund, and I think that's why the majority went to just leave it in the operating surplus. We have a bigger issue with regard to the adequacy. We need to look at alternative fund source, and we need to just have a better understanding of how the pool fund works.
Lanny?
So staff and FAC have recommended option one. They're the folks that have an awful lot more experience about how we should do this. It is a policy, it is our policy, and I agree with Scott that if we disagree with the policy, then we can have a discussion at some point in time in the future to change that policy. But I think when both staff and FAC recommend the option, I think we should go with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jody?
Okay, if we're having a 90-day funding issue, then I think the CPM needs to be reviewed and changes made to the way our funding's being done. If that means we have to take money from how we direct it to initiatives or other areas in order to keep our 90-day funding, we can make policy changes to the way our financial is divided up. And I don't see that changes coming forth. We're sticking with what we currently have in the CPM, and that can always be changed. But if we're continuing to have a 90-day funding problem due to the housing, and that might not go away anytime soon, then we might need to change the way that we divide our funding up as it's coming in.
That may be true, but we're not going to do it today. Yeah, that's...
At the same time, we are still not addressing a situation that we have, and it's been addressed. I sent an email 2 years ago, and we still, 7%, what is that, $4,000? And you guys are clapping yourself on the back for the extra 7%, but yet you don't want to do this 35,000 or whatever? I get it. I get it. I get it. So we can just vote.
Okay, with that in mind, I'm thinking the same thing. We've had a policy, the cash policy, for years and years, and we haven't changed it. but we have kind of slid a little bit with it, and I really do think we ought to stay with the staff recommendation for all the money to go into the operating fund to try to catch up some of that back funding that we did not replenish. Again, as Scott has said, we have enough money to do the pool this year and probably enough money to do a pool next year if that should happen. If it doesn't happen, then we still have money to do it the third year. So the pool is a new issue. Having our cash to follow our policy, to me, is what we should be doing, what we should be following currently, because that is the current policy. But that being in mind, somebody recommend to me which one do we vote on first? Give me a hand here, Scott.
I think you're doing the amendment at the bottom, which is directing staff to transfer the 40% to MRB and the 60%. So that's an amendment to the main motion.
Okay. So all those in favor of that, please raise your hand. 1, 2.
Amendment.
Did Bart go for this?
He's not going for it, no.
Okay, so I thought I only saw,
I got 2.
okay. All those opposed, please raise your hand. 10. 9, I'm sorry. So that amendment fails. So we'll go to the next one, which is the 50% of the money going to the pools and 50% going to the operating budget. So those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2. Okay, I see 2. And all those opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that one fails. So the next is the recommended motion. Excuse me. Marge motion to leave it with the number 1 recommended motion where all of the operating surplus goes into the operating cash. So all those in favor, please raise your hand.
Was there a second?
We didn't get a second, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Steve, I have Steve down as a second for that.
Thank you.
Sorry. So anyway, all those in favor, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. All those opposed? 2, that would be Jody and Candy. And so that passes, all of the funds go into the operating cash fund. Thank you, everybody. So let's move on to number D with the approval of the ad hoc GVR Foundation Committee Chair. Scott, you want to take that?
Sure. Again, the board is being asked to appoint a chair to the GVR Foundation Ad Hoc Committee. As we've already discussed, Kathy Batchelor is the president of GVR, and she is the ad hoc chair at this time. This is her last year, so she'll be leaving the board, which means we need another chair for the ad hoc committee. Kathy has recommended that Director Nellie Johnson become the chair of that committee. Kathy has requested that she remain on the ad hoc committee and as part of the steering committee. We do have a recommended motion up on the screen for you that would allow that to happen.
Kathy, may
I'm sorry,
I
Beth?
make that motion? I move to approve the appointment of Nellie Johnson as the chair of the GVR Foundation Ad Hoc Committee and allow Kathy Batchelor to remain on the ad hoc committee and as part of the steering committee.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Lenny Smith is second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Oh, I'm sorry. You know, I still got 9 minutes and we're still on time. So yes, we're going to have a discussion. Go right ahead. Do you have something you want to say, Beth? Okay. Any board member that wants to discuss it?
Bart.
Bart? Okay, Bart?
Thanks. I'm voting no on this motion because I believe it's time for new faces on this committee. Scott, you're the presenter on this, which seems to suggest that you support these committee placements, whereas in the past, you've always remained very neutral when the board selects committee chairman. I'm sure you'll tell us soon that you as CEO don't actually support any particular person in these slots.
I
As I
don't really
noted
have a
back
position on it.
say again?
I don't really have a position on it, if
Yeah,
that's
that's
what
why
you
it
mean.
seems odd that you're the presenter. As I noted back in our January 2026 meeting, the current GVR segment of this ad hoc committee did not do due diligence that should have been expected of them. There was no report to the board of GVR Foundation's history with GVR. There was no assessment in light of that history whether it would really be a good idea for GVR to enter into any new agreement with GVR Foundation. There was no discussion of GVR Foundation's unilateral termination in 2022 of an earlier agreement between GVR and GVR Foundation. It was reasonable to expect a hard-headed assessment of what would be best for GVR, not for GVR Foundation, but that never came. So it fell to me to prepare a memo for the board which set forth that history, and that memo is available online in the meeting book for the January meeting. The draft MOU that was brought to the board by the ad hoc committee was unsurprisingly favorable to GVR Foundation. A subsequent review and revision by GVR's legal counsel helped to reduce this lopsidedness. That review and revision, incidentally, cost GVR several $1,000s. For the reasons I mentioned earlier, 6 yes votes on the MOU, 3 of which are leaving the board next week, I believe it would be more sensible and more respectful of the incoming board for us just to let the new GVR board decide who should be on this committee. And that's why I'm voting no. Thanks.
Marge?
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion. I'd like to move that the appointment of Nellie as chair of the foundation only be for 2 months, and that the new board then decide if they want, who they want as the chair. And my thought on that is because maybe the new president, not against Nellie, it's just maybe the new president would like to chair this committee. And I don't know if we have non-members. I mean, Kathy won't be on the board, so I don't know if she can stay on the steering committee. I don't have a problem with it if that's okay with the rest of the board. I just think that for 2 months and let the new board revisit the appointment. I'm glad you can type faster than I can talk. Thanks, Nancy. So that's my amendment.
Okay. Is there a second?
Steve.
I'll second.
Okay. Just as a comment, when we set up the initial ad hoc committee, I had as a part of an appointment of the committee, Tony Zabicki, who is a member at large. He's not on this board, but he was a member at large because I really support the fact that we should have members as parts of our committee from the outside with their considerations. So I just wanted to make that clear that I would not be the only non-board member. There is already one.
I just feel strongly that our appointment of a new chairman, whoever it is, should only be until the new board takes its seat and they decide if the president wants that position, then they don't have to arm wrestle Nellie or anybody else for it, then we can decide at that point.
Okay.
So if you need a chairman to replace you, I would like to hold it for the 2 months.
Okay, and we pretty much discussed that during the amendment to the agenda. So is there any other discussion on this item? Then we'll take the amendment first and then the original. Marge's amendment is to have Nellie chair the committee for the first 2 months and then the new board to take action after that. All those in favor, please raise your hand. One, I see 2, 3. Okay, all those opposed, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 8. So that motion fails. So we'll go to the original motion that Beth made. And Lanny seconded it, which is on the screen, to approve the appointment of Nellie Johnson as the chair of the GVR Foundation Ad Hoc Committee and allow Kathy Batchelor to remain on the Ad Hoc Committee and as part of the steering committee. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I see 9, so all those opposed? And 2 opposed, so the motion carries. Okay, that is the last item on the agenda. And Rick, you're the last person standing in the audience. Do you have any member comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Candy, I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay, Candy abstained from that last. Okay, well, we'll make a note. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you for the correction. So, any comments from the members, Rick? Okay, thanks for coming anyway, we appreciate it. All right, so then I will
I
take
make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank you, Jody. And Marge, you did the second? All those in favor, raise your hand. I think it's unanimous. Thank you, everybody, this is a good meeting.